Joining us now is Ben Parks, a political student. And thank you for joining us, Ben.
You're welcome.
So this whole election that we're about to find out tonight is really quite exciting.
Oh, God.
Especially in times like this. So the first question I'm going to put to you is, what do you think if Trump closes the gap between Biden? What does this mean for his foreign policy? If say we see another 4 years of Trump, what does that mean for American foreign policy?
I think it's going to be exactly the same, only it's going to get worse. Like, I'm not going to get too opinionated because this is an interview and I'm going to try and stay as balanced as possible. But Trump's policy in terms of foreign policy is, let's just say, abrasive. And I think if he stays in power, there's no reason for him to change it.
Do you think he will almost be more empowered that he's been re-elected once again? We've seen him moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Do you think he's going to make more bold moves like that?
I think it's a show of confidence in what he's done so far. So I think he will attempt that, yes.
Trump says that he will go to court to halt the vote counting. In your opinion, or in general, do you think that this is intervening and preventing democratic process in the US?
I mean, I think if there is a due reason for it, then and the recount needs to be done, then I see no reason why not. However, it's Trump, and Trump has been known for saying that he will do whatever it takes to win. So if he attempts a recount, it's with context. It's like he's trying to strong arm his way into an electoral victory rather than accepting the vote and getting on with it.
Which is going against democratic process, going against what the people say.
Yes.
What does this mean for our partners here in the UK? I mean, the US and the UK have always enjoyed a very close relationship. In terms of trade and Brexit, what does that mean for us?
I think in terms of trade and Brexit, it means, well, firstly, it means we have a far more volatile US. Because Trump is prone to being, again, this goes back to foreign policy. Trump has always been quite volatile with his foreign policy. And what this means is, whilst it may be good for Boris Johnson to have someone who gets on with him, at least ostensibly, there is a possibility that if Boris Johnson slightly disagrees with what Trump says, Trump might throw his toys out the pram.
Which we've do in the past.
Yeah. And there's also the whole thing with China and the way the US handles China, because China is probably the most important trading power in the world at the moment, I'd say. If the US fractures its relationship with China more, then there could be a definite downgrade in what we could do with the US.
But establishing close ties with the US is, would you say, a priority for us here in the UK? As we're closing in, we're moving away from Europe and moving towards the US. Do you think that these elections will directly impact how strong of a relationship we'll be able to have with the US?
Most likely.
Say if Biden was to prevail in this election, would we see a difference in the closeness of ties?
Well, considering Biden is, I'd say, a centre-right candidate, Biden is a very moderate. I'd say if he was a UK politician, I'd say Biden would be a moderate Tory, which would mean I think Biden would have decent relations actually with Boris Johnson, and a lot more stable than Trump's.
Do you think that this is what America needs right now? A fresh start, if you will, Biden?
Well, let's consider everything that's happened over these 4 years. We've had a pandemic. We've had mass riots. We've had, and this is just 2020. I've forgotten the past years before 2020 because 2020's just been 2020. But the US has not been stable for a while. It's been very polarized. It's been very, very divided. And the Trump administration has only accelerated those divisions at a massive pace. What the Trump administration has done, it's pandered to the white conservative demographic that the Republicans have always pandered to, but they've stepped it up. And the Republican Party is, I'm not gonna, as I said, I don't want to get too political, but I'd argue that the Republican Party is far right, and it's definitely verging on being extreme. So I think a fresh start under Biden to just relax and pull back from basically becoming an extreme state is definitely needed.
We saw with the whole Black Lives Matter protests and almost riots, in fact, we saw that Donald Trump's reaction was quite not the sort of reaction you would expect from the president of a country that's trying to unify his people. It was very divisions and sectarianism is, as I said, increasing in America. If you were to advise the Trump administration, what would your advice be to him?
If I was a neutral, like if I was in, say, a theoretical American civil service and I was advising the Trump administration on what to do, I would say pull back. Pull back. If the way to counter if I was looking at this from a Republican point of view, which I'm not looking at it from a Republican point of view personally, but if I was, what I'd say is pull back, because giving the police more powers to be more violent and sending the feds in to put protests down violently is only going to aggravate the protesters more. And this will lead to more severe repercussions, and it will lead to more violence, and it will lead to a major divide in the US that has not been seen since at least the late 60s, with the whole Black Panthers movement and the massive racial divides that were happening back then. Obviously, in 1968 there was essentially the Detroit Rebellion, and we could see that again if the Trump administration continues down the path of violent suppression that honestly we associate with authoritarian states.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, I'd like to pose to you one question. Would you like to call the election? Would you like to sort of give a prediction? What do you personally think? We're looking at the polls; they're very tight between Biden and Trump. Would you like to call the election?
Okay, so here's what I think. I'm actually going to pull up an election map. So the current situation: Biden is leading currently in Wisconsin and Michigan, and their votes are almost completely done. It is incredibly tight in both Wisconsin and Michigan. However, it looks like Biden could have those states.
So we're looking at Biden having the upper hand almost.
Almost, because what it hinges on is Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Arizona, they've got 86% of the expected votes counted, and what this is, and Arizona is actually swinging Democrat, which it hasn't in a very long time. And what this is leading to is Biden needs obviously a slightly less votes than Trump. And I think I saw it somewhere on the BBC. Two of three states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and also Arizona. And at the moment, Biden is leading all three in three of those four. And their expected votes have counted above 85%. I'm not going to call it for Biden yet because this could go either way, and Trump is looking to recount.
Mm-hmm. We heard him talking about a Supreme Court case to get his way. We talked about earlier.
Yes, strong on the Supreme Court into forcing his way into power, basically.
Ben Parks, thank you very much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.